Hey, good morning. Welcome in. Welcome back, everybody. It is Laura, and we are going to talk about this transit between Venus and Uranus at 29 degrees. And so we are completing a 7-year Uranus cycle. This is huge. And with it being in a conjunction to Venus in its home sign of Taurus, this is a major transition and shift for the Divine Feminine Collective. And I do feel any late degree fixed placements are going to be feeling this most significantly. So let's break down these energies for July the 4th, because it is charged with this transformational energy, especially for the Divine Feminine and those that have been navigating the twin flame journey. We're going to break it down layer by layer, because just a few short hours after this conjunction, Venus is going to be entering into Gemini, and we also have Neptune stationing retrograde in Aries today. And so there's like a lightning strike of liberation is really what this is feeling like for the Divine Feminine. And I also have to say, as I was digging into this conjunction, we will have a second Venus conjunct Uranus conjunction in April of 2026, both energies in Taurus. And so something is being sparked or is being ignited today, and the completion of this will come full circle, I believe, late April of 2026. And so Divine Feminine, because Venus is in its home sign of Taurus, this is a very dignified, grounded, and rooted energy where the feminine is getting rooted in self-worth, sensual embodiment, and her own personal values, okay? And so there is a touching energy with Uranus at that final karmic analytical degree, which is triggering some type of sudden awakening. And because this is earth energy, this is something in the physical reality I feel that needs to be released. And this is where we get catapulted into the unknown. And so I was shown the Three of Wands to the Queen of Swords. There's a vision here already, Divine Feminine. There's a vision. There's a vision here already set in motion. It's like those ships are coming in. That manifestation is here, but there's a sense of watching, there's a sense of waiting, and there is a sense of trusting in divine timing. And the Queen of Swords adds a layer of discernment, which is connected to the Gemini energy. There's truth here. There's boundaries here. There's this energy of those of the collective connected to the Divine Feminine that have been through the fire. We're no longer going to accept anything less than authenticity and what matches our worth and our value. And so these illusions around love, around romance, around worth, around union, these are all getting broken down, connected to the distorted twin flame templates, okay? And so it's all breaking down these twin flame templates, these twin flame illusions. We're at that reset point for the feminine to fully reclaim her sovereignty and to radically realign with her future, okay? And then Venus is going to enter into Gemini. This shift is going to happen shortly after that conjunction. And for me personally, this is huge, because this is activating a Venus return for me. I just went through a Mars return when Mars was in Leo, and now I'm going through a Venus return. Both of these happening in the same year for me. So personally, I do feel I am at a very rare, supercharged energy of alignment, right? And so for myself with this Venus return, I'm going into a new 18-month cycle connected to love, relationships, creative expression. This is connected to my home because I have Venus sitting in the 4th house, and this is connected to my feminine magnetism. And so with Venus in Gemini, let's face it, it's flirty, it's fun, it's curious, it's all about conversation, it's all about duality. And so this is where the Divine Feminine Collective learns to dance between the polarities of the masculine and the feminine, right? Where we speak our truth into the collective with a sense of lightness, and we really engage in that inner union rather than needing anything external to us, okay? And so Venus in Gemini is all about rewriting our love language. It's all about rewriting the inner muse. and calling in those partnerships that are going to mirror the mental and spiritual growth that we have gone through, okay? And with Neptune stationing retrograde in Aries, this is that sacred pull to go inward, right? Retrogrades are about inner work. And I was shown the High Priestess to the Wheel of Fortune. And so there's a major re-evaluation connected to our spiritual compass with this Neptune retrograde. And it's going to be retrograde for about 5 months. And then we're going to have Saturn going retrograde later in the month, along with Mercury retrograde and Chiron going retrograde. And so there is a rewiring or a rewriting of that spiritual warrior archetype happening. There's going to be a lot less martyrdom in the collective, and there's going to be a lot more divine embodiment, okay? And so retrogrades invite the stripping away, and because it's Neptune, of fantasy and illusions. And this retrograde is pretty potent because it is going to dip back into Pisces at that late degree for that final cleanup of the illusions and the fantasies, so we can rise higher into that authentic purpose. And so there's a lot of codes of divine knowing being activated with Neptune retrograde. And there's like the spinning of the wheel of fate in motion. And we do need to surrender to the timing of these energies, okay? And so for the collective, for the twin flame path, any false ideals around mission, union, or that waiting energy, it's going to be restructured during this retrograde, okay? Divine feminines, you are being asked to go deeper within. What does that mean? It means finding those answers not in the mirror of another, but in the sanctuary of your inner world of your own soul, okay? And so there's this personal integration for me with my Venus and Mars return in the same year. And so I'm really in this activation energy of that sacred inner union and all of those codes reaching completion. And so I know I've been initiating a new cycle for quite some time. And so that divine action of Mars and Leo really put something new in motion for me. And that magnetic reception of Venus and Gemini, I'm really excited because I feel these energies harmonizing. I'm really going after what it is that I desire to create in my reality. And I'm ready to attract and I'm ready to receive wholeheartedly. And so there's a recalibration when it comes to relationship patterns, right? And especially when we tie these relationship patterns to past versions of love, desire, and identity, and these patterns that were very unhealthy, right? And so there is a huge shift connected to this twin flame journey and twin flame embodiment and what it means, because we're not just aligning for some type of union external to us. We are aligning to this sacred path of service. It is a path of creativity. It is a path of soul, truth, and divine feminine embodiment. And so to work with these energies over the coming days, journal. Journal, journal, journal. What illusions are you still holding on to around love, around self-worth, and around your mission? Because these illusions do have to dissolve, right? And ground yourself. Taurus is earthly energy. Do whatever it is you need to do to stay grounded in your body. You don't want to get too caught up in the higher energies or in the thought processes. You want to be grounded in your earthly Taurian presence in the body, right? So ritual baths, grounding foods, pleasure practices, just taking yourself into that presence of the moment, okay? And speak, because the Venus in Gemini is asking us to write. It's asking us to activate our voice. It's asking us to create. So work with affirmations around partnership and around purpose, as Venus is in Gemini at that 0 degree, and trust, because Uranus is going to bring sudden changes. But these are going to create a soul-aligned shift in order to get us back on track. So let's dig a little bit deeper in with the oracle, in with the tarot cards, and let's see what the universe has in store with those messages. But before doing that, I would like to quickly mention, if you are curious about your birth chart, if you are new to astrology, even if you've been studying it for a while, I do have a free guide to the 15 basics of understanding your birth chart. It might just help you follow along with some of the astrology that I talk about. So go check it out. Comment down below, free guide, and I will send you the link to download that free birth chart guide. I also do have a 22-page twin flame ebook that I have published if you are curious to learn more about the twin flame journey, the stages, the phases, and that this is not just romance, this is mission. And if you're ready to level up with your spiritual path and your mission, then comment twin flame book down below and I will send you that link. But let's get into it and let's see what the cards have to say today. Wow, wow, wow. This reading definitely is speaking to that turning point for the Divine Feminine Collective, where we are in a major karmic clearing portal. There's truth, there's cosmic intervention, there's a shift connected to love, loyalty, and purpose. So let's break it down because this energy is loud. The first card out today is the Loyal Heart card. And so as you can see, it's a 35 card. There is a 9 of Wands quality to this card today. And so there is a heart check here. I want to say, who or what have you been fiercely loyal to? Even to your own detriment. We really have to ask ourselves that, right? Because there is a reflection here, I feel, of emotional fatigue from past relationship wounding. And this might just be a test of endurance today. There is a sense here that somebody has been guarding their heart while still holding on to a little bit of hope. And so maybe you have clung to an ideal or a relationship or a dream that basically has become very energetically heavy, possibly rooted in an outdated twin flame narrative or a misplaced loyalty. And so this Venus conjunct Uranus energy is saying expect a revelation about who is genuinely aligned with your heart and who is not. This is a call to purge these old energies, to cut these cords, and to stop overextending your loyalty where it is not reciprocated. Okay, so that was a pretty loud message. And then we went right into the card of Blessed. It's a 22 card. So there is a master builder energy here. There is also the energy of the Fool. And so there's a new cycle, right? The Fool completes the major arcana, which leads us to that new beginning. And so I feel this is a strong message of divine intervention at play right now. And so what might seem like chaos or loss is actually a course correction, is actually a blessing in disguise, right? And so the Fool undertone is bringing that new beginning, but only if you're willing to release the baggage of the past or your misplaced loyalties, okay? And so, like I said, that master number 22, it is a master builder number. And so this is about laying the foundation for a new era of love because of the Venus energy, of love, of self-worth, built on truth, not on fantasy or illusion. And with Neptune stationing retrograde, these illusions around love and romance, they are dissolving. And it may come with a rock bottom moment, but this is the emotional climax to clear that space for the blessings, for the miracles. And so something you probably didn't expect is about to happen, and it will open the door to the next chapter. But this is also a message about staying humble and staying open, because humility really is the pathway to ascension. And then we got the Fates card. And so there is something very divinely orchestrated here, right? This is the star energy. The star card does come after the Tower. And so this is about surrender, right? Surrender to what cannot be controlled, what cannot be changed, and what cannot be saved, because there's an energy of hope here. There's an energy of healing after some sort of devastation. But this also does require acceptance of what is, right? And so there may be people or situations in your life that maybe you've tried to fix. That's codependency. Maybe you've tried to mold them, or maybe you've tried to make them fit into this alignment of your journey. Especially with this Venus-Uranus conjunction, it's about to rip the veil of illusion off of a certain situation here. So what is it that you are trying to force that was never meant to stay on your path or in your life? Because this can apply to a false twin, a karmic partner, an outdated soul contract, or even a personal identity that you've clung to within a certain connection. We are not meant to fix what is divinely meant to fall away. So stop trying to force, because the fates are saying healing will begin when you accept this fated truth. Because on the bottom of the deck, we do have the Thinker card, and it's a 44 card. And so this is connected to the Four of Cups energy. And so there is emotional disconnection. There's emotional dissatisfaction. There's overanalyzing that is hidden below the surface here. And possibly you may find yourself staying in something longer than you should have, probably out of empathy, confusion, or even possibly denial. And so there is dissatisfaction, there's overthinking, there is a deep sense of emotional withdrawal. Have you been hoping somebody or something would shift, only to realize maybe that energy has just been long stagnant? Because we did have the Seven of Pentacles in reversed over here, which is a huge indication of watering a dead tree. This Venus energy preparing to enter into Gemini is saying the thoughts are going to come clearer. Gemini is bringing logic to love, and there's an air element here that is going to lift this emotional fog. And so this really is an invitation below the surface to return to your body, to set some boundaries, and to stop over functioning emotionally in relationships that keep draining you, because there is a soul realignment here happening, a soul realignment moment for the divine feminine, where the universe is closing out this karmic loop so you can clear the illusions and you can begin to regain peace in your life and build a solid new foundation. So take a step back and observe your surroundings, observe your emotions, be the observer of this situation in question. Because there is a fated redirection here being activated in the energies today. And blessings coming your way may not look how you expected them, but you need to trust, because the answers to your prayers will always be brought forward when you are about to hit a breaking point. And so it's time to trust that you are the beloved that you have always been waiting for, okay? And so whatever is truly meant for you will rise from this recalibrated place of truth. Okay, so let's break down this reading row by row, because I do feel there's a little bit of a crisis of identity. There's an intuition coming through. There's an emotional boundary. I do feel a breakdown connected to the exhaustion of holding on to something a little too long. So let's talk about this top row, because we got the Queen of Wands in reversed, to the Queen of Cups upright, to the High Priestess in reverse. There's a feminine energy coming through, very loud. And I do feel there's almost like an inner fragmentation here, is what this feels like, where there's burnout, right? Especially with the Queen of Wands in reverse. There's burnout. There's emotional overload with the Queen of Cups upright. And there's a disconnect from your own inner sacred knowing, if you resonate as a divine feminine. And so this basically is screaming the aftermath of giving too much, or performing emotional labor and clinging to hope, seeking the signs from others instead of trusting yourself. There's a moment here where external connection, I feel, has become a substitute for that inner connection to self. And so I really do feel there's going to be shock, there's going to be change, there's going to be truth. This is a karmic breaking point for any patterns, I want to say, of self-abandonment or external validation in love. And I do feel there's a forced return to your own voice, right? Because somebody here, I feel, has been very overly reliant on external advice, maybe watching too many readings. But I do feel there's a revealing of where you've outsourced your intuition, right? You can't return to your own personal power by pouring your love and your light into places where you're not seen, where you're not valued, where you're not reciprocated. And that will drain your light. That will drain your energy. It will drain your life force. So really take a look at that, okay? Because the middle row is screaming exhaustion and holding on, right? So we get this Nine of Wands in reversed, and the Nine of Wands is that wounded warrior, and I felt it here with the loyal heart. Somebody here has really misplaced a loyalty in a connection that I feel has really gone unreciprocated. Maybe for the last 7 years, maybe for the last 4 years with the Four of Pentacles, because Pentacles, I feel, for the last 4 years, somebody's really held on to a misplaced loyalty. And so this screams battle zone, right? The Nine of Wands reversed, the Seven of Wands reversed, and the Four of Pentacles battle zone. This is where a divine feminine has fought for love, has fought for truth, has fought for union and for something to work out, and now has to face the exhaustion and the reality of this, right? And so lay down the sword, stop the fight, stop the battle. This is draining you. I don't know who needs to hear this, but there's a connection here that is draining you. Stop standing up for this connection and start standing up for yourself. I do feel there's opposition here because somebody is overwhelmed with self-doubt. There's clinging. There's holding on to a love story, a person, or an illusion that is far past its expiration point, probably 4 years past its expiration point. And so there is an activation, I feel. And with the Seven of Wands as the central energy, there is a divine feminine teacher here that is refusing to step into being that role of a teacher. And so there's an activation of the release of this attachment because there's still this clinging. And I do feel this clinging is based in a sense of lack, in a sense of fear, and trying to control a situation. And so this is where you have to find that inner warrior, and you have to learn that surrender doesn't equal defeat. Surrender equals divine redirection in here. And so why do you keep trying to prove your worth to somebody who's not even willing to meet you in your soul truth? Because we have a King of Cups in reversed here. And it's time to release the confusion. There's a lot of emotional avoidance coming through. This person, I don't know why you have a grip on this person, but you need to reclaim your fire, and you do that by releasing a grip. Because there's two people here not on the same page emotionally. There's somebody that's given their all to this person, and there's somebody here that is not compassionate, is not understanding, and I feel lacks trustworthiness, and they're just not showing up emotionally. And there's the truth here about a masculine coming through in the bottom row that is very disconnected emotionally, okay? We do have the Ace of Wands in reversed, The Page of Cups in reverse. Stop trying to revive something that is meant to leave your life, because I do feel this just keeps creating confusion, and there's avoidance, I want to say, on both parts here. There's a false start. There's a broken promise. There's a faded passion. There's emotional immaturity. There's blocked inner child wounding. And there's somebody here who is either emotionally manipulative or emotionally cold, or just incapable of truly holding emotional depth. And so take the blindfold off. I feel the blindfold is off. It's getting ripped off. You're going to see this for exactly what it is. And there's going to be no more denying this, right? There's a stripping away of the illusions. There's a stripping away of the fantasy here. And I do feel there is a fantasy connected to a masculine, where there is this union dynamic that you've not been seeing clearly, or lack of union, where maybe you've projected this hope instead of actually received the reciprocation. And so there is illumination here of something that is just no longer sustainable. It's definitely not sacred. It's feeling very karmic. And the longer you hold space for what is false, the longer you delay what is meant for you, okay? And so it might feel like failure, right? When we have to end a relationship, it can be humiliating, especially if we've blasted it all over social media. And it can be humbling, it can be humiliating. But there's freedom in the sense of failure here, okay? And when we let that disillusionment go and we allow this divine redirection to take over, that's when you will be met with the true sacred masculine who will rise to meet you. So stop holding space for this false connection here, because the bottom of the deck is exposing the karmic truth of this all. We do have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. We have the Wheel reversed. So there's a refusal to change, blocking your destiny by staying in place, blocking your luck, blocking your progress forward. And there is a need to retreat. And then the Sun, there is a need to let go of this illusion. There is a connection here rooted in codependencies, and it's blocking a manifestation of a true divine counterpart reunion. And so I really do feel if you've been investing in something that is no longer growing, this dead tree is not going to bloom just because you love it harder or try to force a connection. You're blocking your destiny. Stop keeping your foot stuck in the wheel. The fate wants to move you forward, but you have to cooperate with destiny. And it is time to reflect, to retreat, and to listen only to your own inner guidance, because this illumination is part of this rebirth. And there is a rebirth here available, but you have to see what Spirit is showing you very clearly about a toxic codependent situation here. The blinders are coming off, ready or not, really is the message here. And the longer you resist, the more disruptive the lesson does become. And so it might feel like you're being punished, but Spirit never ever punishes you. It's saving you from something that is not meant for you. There is a higher love calling you forward, but you have to surrender this illusion of what you thought this love was supposed to look like. So let go of the version of you that is begging for somebody to love you, that is begging to be chosen. Please let go of this very karmic love story where you have to wait, where you have to prove, where you have to suffer. Because the divine doesn't ask you to cling to something. The divine is asking you to rise. You're the one clinging to an illusion here is what this is telling me. So let's close this off with the final two messages, because the Ascension Flames card is connected to the Ace of Wands. And so there's a merging with the light. There's an ignition of keys and light codes coming in, and you are being called to pass a major karmic test. It's kind of going to feel like betrayal, probably. It's going to feel like loss. It's going to feel like heartbreak. But this actually ignites the fire and the next level of your ascension. You're being invited to merge with your higher self. That is the true twin flame union. To merge with your higher self and to step fully into your divine blueprint. Illusions need to be cleared, connected to false twins, wounded masculine patterns, and distorted love patterns, where every flame needs to ignite their own sacred code, okay? And so a true divine counterpart will not burn you down. It will burn away what you are not. You will become your most authentic self. It will be healing. It will lift you up. It will not tear you down. And with Venus conjunct Uranus at 29 degrees, this is the karmic gateway of liberation. And with Neptune stationing retrograde today as well, this is the spiritual veil dissolving. There are ascension flames here being activated. You need to let go of what's not meant for you in order to hold the frequency for this higher union. This is not just about union with another. This is about union with the divine within you. Okay, and so your path forward is always going to be encoded with light. And on the bottom of the deck, we do have the magical crystal cave, which really does align with the hermit energy of going into the cave. And there's going to be a new opportunity, but you have to declutter your life. You have to clear the path. I think you're getting a glimpse of a magical doorway opening, but you do have to turn on your inner light. So after this truth is revealed, after the heartbreak clears, that's when your true gifts and your authentic self fully emerges, okay? So there's a call here. I know it's contradictory, to come out of hiding. It does mean no more dimming. No more waiting. Your gifts, they're intuitive, they're creative, they're healing, they're expressive, and they get activated through this twin flame awakening, okay? And so this does kind of mirror the hermit emerging from the cave, not as a wounded warrior, but as a wise leader. And so as Venus enters into Gemini, your words, your voice, your truth, that's going to become your magic. Neptune retrograde is saying your gifts are going to come clearer and sharper as the fog lifts. So do the work over the next 5 months, because this is not the end of your story. It's the end of a chapter. It's the beginning of you stepping into your true soul role, not in shadow, but in that radiant, unapologetic truth of authenticity, okay? And so the final closing message I have for you today is remember who you are. You are your own twin flame. You are the gift. You are the magic. It's time to rise, divine feminine, fully, finally, and fearlessly. If you are ready to go further with me with some twin flame coaching or astrology mentorship, or possibly a personal birth chart reading, transit chart reading, you name it, check out the webpage link below. I would love to get you booked in. I'd love to help you accelerate on your journey. If you're not quite ready for that, feel free to check out the membership side of the channel, where I do go live every Thursday at noon, and I do pull into all 12 zodiac signs for zodiac specific messages. If you are looking for specific sign messages, check it out. I do hope you have a great day, everybody, and I do look forward to seeing you all again next time. Thank you.